Hello, friends. Welcome back to Read Aloud. We are reading The Tale of Despereaux by Dicamillo. And when we last were here, we were introduced to Miggery Sow. The word sow, S-O-W, actually means pig, and her father had named her after his favorite pig. Which, would you want to be named after your father's favorite animal? Especially a pig. But we know what her father was like because he sold her for a handful of cigarettes and a hen and a red cloth. We learned about him in the first part. And now she lives with Uncle, who her father sold her to, so that she's now his servant. And she is now his servant. And when she does anything wrong, he gives her clouts to the ears, boxes her ears. So, and he seems like he kind of just wants to do it anyway, right? He's just not a nice guy. Might remind you of the dad in The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. So, as we know, no one wants or cares what Miggery Sow wants. And so, here we go. Chapter 26, Royalty. When Meg turned 7 years old, there was no cake, no celebration, no singing, no present, no acknowledgement of her birthday at all, other than Meg saying, "Uncle, today I'm 7 years old." And Uncle saying in return, "Did I ask you how old you were today? Get out of my face before I give you a good clout to the ear." A few hours after receiving her birthday clout to the ear, Meg was out in the field with Uncle Sheep when she saw something glittering and glowing on the horizon. So there's another reference to light and glittering. She thought for a moment that it was the sun, but she turned and saw that the sun was in the west, where it should be, sinking to join the earth. This thing that shone so brightly was something else. Meg stood in the field and shaded her eyes with her left hand and watched the brilliant light, this would be that hand, and watched the brilliant light draw closer and closer until it revealed itself to be King Philip and his queen Rosemary and their daughter, the young Princess P. The royal family was surrounded by knights in shining armor and horses in shining armor. And atop each member of the royal family's head, there was a golden crown. And they were all, the king and the queen and the princess, dressed in robes, decorated with jewels and sequins that glittered and glowed and captured the light of the setting sun and reflected it back. "Cool," breathed Meg. The Princess P was riding on a white horse that picked up its legs very high and set them down very daintily. The P saw Meg standing and staring, and she raised a hand to her. "Hello," the Princess P called out merrily. "Hello!" And she waved her hand again. Meg did not wave back. Instead, she stood and watched. Here's a picture of Meg staring at the horses. There's the princess waving to her. She stared open-mouthed as the perfect, beautiful family passed her by. "Papa," called the princess to the king, "what is wrong with the girl? She will not wave to me." "Never mind," said the king. "It is of no consequence, my dear." But I am a princess, and I wave to her. She should wave back. Mig, for her part, continued to stare. Looking at the royal family had awakened some deep and slumbering need in her. It was as if a small candle had been lit in her interior, sparked to life by the brilliance of the king and the queen and the princess. For the first time in her life, reader, Mig hoped. And hope is like love, a ridiculous, wonderful, powerful thing. Mig tried to name this strange emotion. She put her hand up to touch one of her aching ears, and she realized that the feeling she was experiencing, the hope blooming inside her, felt exactly the opposite of a good clout. She smiled and took her hand away from her ear. She waved to the princess. "Today is my birthday," Mig called out. But the king and the queen and the princess were now too far away to hear her. "Today," shouted Mig, "I'm 7 years old." So when the princess called out to Mig, why do you think she didn't wave back? Because she couldn't hear her. She may have seen her, but she couldn't imagine a princess would be talking to her. And of course, she couldn't hear her from her ears. Chapter 27. A Wish. That night, in a small, dark hut that she shared with Uncle and the sheep, Mig tried to speak of what she'd seen. "Uncle," she said, I saw some human stars today." "How was that?" "I saw them all glittering and glowing, and there was a little princess wearing her own crown and riding on a little white tippy-toed horse." "What are you going on about?" said Uncle. "I saw a king and a queen and an itty-bitty princess," shouted Mig. "So?" shouted Uncle back. "I would like," said Mig shyly. "I wish to be one of them princesses." laughed Uncle. "An ugly, dumb thing like you? You ain't even worth the enormous lot I paid for you. Don't I wish every night I had back that good hen and that red tablecloth in place of you?" He did not wait for Mig to guess the answer to that question. "I do," he said. "I wish it every night. That tablecloth was the colour of blood. That hen could lay eggs like nobody's business." "I want to be a princess," said Mig. "I want to wear a crown." "A crown?" Uncle laughed. "She wants to wear a crown." He laughed harder. He took the empty kettle and put it on his head. "Look at me," he said. "I'm a king. See my crown? I'm a king, just like I always wanted to be. I'm a king because I want to be one." He danced around the hut with a kettle on his head, and he laughed until he cried. And then he stopped dancing and took the kettle from his head and looked at Meg and said, "Do you want a good clout to the ear for such nonsense?" "Oh, thank you, Uncle," said Meg. But she got one anyway. "Look here," said Uncle, after the clout had been delivered. "We will hear no more talk of princesses. Besides, whoever asked you what you wanted in this world, girl?" The answer to that question, reader, as you well know, was absolutely no one. Chapter 28. To the Castle. Years passed. Meg spent them scrubbing the kettle, and tending the sheep, and cleaning the hut, and collecting innumerable, uncountable, extremely painful clouts to the ear. In the evening, spring or winter, summer or fall, Meg stood in the field as the sun set, hoping that the royal family would pass her again. "Oh, I would like to see that little princess another time, wouldn't I? And a little pony too, with his tippy-toed feet." This hope, this wish that she would see the princess again, was lodged deep in Meg's heart. Lodged firmly right next to it was the hope that she, Mickery-Sow, could someday be a princess herself. The first of Meg's wishes was granted in a roundabout way when King Philip outlawed soup. The king's men were sent out to deliver the grim news and to collect from the people of the kingdom of Dor their kettles, their spoons, and their bowls. Reader, you know exactly how and why this law came to pass, so you would not be surprised as Uncle was, when one day a soldier of the king knocked on the door of the hut, and Meg and Uncle and the sheep shared and announced that soup was against the law. "How's that?" said the uncle. "By order of King Philip," repeated the soldier, "I am sent here to tell you that soup has been outlawed in the kingdom of Dor. You will, by order of the king, never again consume soup, nor will you think about it or talk about it. And I, as one of the king's loyal servants, am here to take from you your spoons, your kettle, and your bowls." "But that can't be," Uncle said. "Nevertheless, it is." "What will we eat? And what do we eat it with?" "Cake," suggested the soldier, "with a fork." "And wouldn't that be lovely," said Uncle, "if only we could afford to eat cake?" The soldier shrugged. "I am only doing my duty. Please hand over your spoons, your bowls, and your kettle." Uncle grabbed hold of his beard. He let go of his beard and grabbed the hair on his head. "Unbelievable!" he shouted. "I suppose next the king will be wanting my sheep and my girl, seeing as those are the only possessions I have left." "Do you own a girl?" said the soldier. "I do," said Uncle. "A worthless one. Still, she's mine." "Mine." "Oh," said the soldier, "that, I am afraid, is against the law too. No human may own another in the kingdom of Dor." "But I pay for her, fair and square, with a good lying in and a handful of cigarettes and a blood-red tablecloth." "No matter," said the soldier. "It is against the law to own another. Now, will you hand over to me, if you please, your spoons, your bowls, your kettle, and your girl? Or, if you choose not to hand over these things, then you will come to me to be imprisoned in the castle dungeon. Which will it be?" And that is how Miggery Sow came to be sitting in a wagon full of soup-related items next to a soldier of the king. "Do you have parents?" said the soldier. "I will return you to them." "More!" shouted the soldier.
"Dead!"
said Meg. "Your paw!" shouted the soldier.
"I ain't seen him since he sold me."
"Right. I'll take you to the castle then."
"Cool,"
said Meg, looking around the wagon in confusion.
"You want me to paddle?"
"To the castle!" shouted the soldier. "I'll take you to the castle."
"The castle where the itty-bitty princess lives?"
"That's right."
"Oh," said Meg. "I am to be a princess too someday."
"That's a fine dream," said the soldier. He clucked to the horse and tapped the reins, and they took off.
"I'm happy to be going,"
said Meg, putting a hand up and gently touching one of her cauliflower ears. "Might just as well be happy, seeing as it doesn't make any difference to anyone if you are or not," said the soldier. "We will take you to the castle, and they will set you up. Fine. You will no longer be a slave. You will be a paid servant."
"Huh?"
said Meg. "You will be a servant," said the soldier, "not a slave."
"Cool,"
said Meg, satisfied.
"A servant I will be, not a slave."
She was 12 years old. Her mother was dead. Her father had sold her. Her uncle, who wasn't her uncle at all, had clouted her until she was almost deaf. And she wanted, more than anything in the world, to be a little princess, wearing a golden crown and riding a high-stepping white horse. Reader, do you think that it is a terrible thing to hope when really there is no reason to hope at all? Or is it, as the soldier said about happiness, something that you might as well just do, since in the end, it really makes no difference to anyone except you? What do you think, reader? Should you hope in your dreams, even if nobody else does? Should you have a wish, even if other people think it's ridiculous? Interesting thing to think about. Well, we'll see what happens to Meg tomorrow and read aloud our last one this week. So think about those things and predict what might happen with Meg going to the castle. Will she be a princess? Will she meet the princess? We'll see tomorrow. Bye, guys.